This is Justin.
And this is Haley, and you're listening to The Price of Avocado Toast.
We're a married millennial couple wanting to normalize conversations about money. We want to hear about your highs and your lows,
The do's and the don'ts on your path towards financial freedom. Hi, Toasties. Welcome to Price of Avocado Toast.
Whether you're a first-time listener or you've been following us from the start of this thing, we're so glad to have this conversation with you today.
You know, I would say it's May and the weather's warming up and it's about to be a nice, hot, sexy summer, but it is ugly right now in California.
Yeah, it's like 50 degrees outside right now. It's pretty cold.
So let's pretend like it's 85 and it's May and
Yeah.
we're getting our suntan on with a lotion.
Yeah, well, it's kind of nice because it's supposed to be sunny again, like literally tomorrow, and even up to potentially the 90s this weekend where we're at. So it's kind of nice getting like the last little bit of rain, hopefully, before fire season begins, which is terrifying.
I saw someone, the Minimal Scawny, on Instagram post, like, what's going on, Wisconsin? Like, cool your chill. It was like 40 degrees, and then all of a sudden it was like 85. So we're all kind of experiencing this weird thing happening. Anyway, enough about weather. I like weather, but today's episode we're going to be talking about some summery stuff, and so I felt like I had to throw it in there that it is not sunny and 75 in California. It is ugly.
No, it's certainly not. I mean, there's the sun's trying, but
You're
not quite.
hopeful.
Yeah. So we are doing just an episode of Haley and I today, you guys. We've been batching a ton of interviews, and we've had a lot of interviews recently that we put on the pod, and we were like, yo, we need to just sit down with us for a little bit and share what's going on in our world briefly before we get into a topic that we've been wanting to talk about. So what is really going on in our world? I don't know. It's almost the end of the school year, which is awesome. I have like 20 days left of work, which is super rad.
Yes.
Our trip to Cancun to use our timeshare is just a few short weeks away, so that'll be pretty fun.
I can't wait.
Yeah, and you're crushing it with your business.
Yeah. Things are going well. And on that note, I just want to mention that this episode is going to be going out on Wednesday the 11th, Wednesday, May 11th. And on Sunday, May 15th, I'm actually closing registration for my coaching. For a while, it won't be closed forever, but I can't guarantee a certain time that it will open and that the pricing will stay the same. So please make sure that you either use the link in the show notes here on this episode or the link in our bio on Instagram at Price of Avocado Toast to kind of get that ball rolling with your registration, application, and consult.
Yeah, we filmed a reel yesterday where I was talking to male partners or husbands, about putting aside their ego when it comes to finances. And so if you're listening to this episode and you have a male partner who is maybe a bit ego driven when it comes to the finances, share this episode with them as well and say, hey, just listen to this opening few minutes, because I've noticed with your business that women particularly reach out more often, which is great. Obviously, we want women feeling empowered and strong when it comes to their finances, but men need it just as much. Like, I was just as much of a mess financially when you and I were struggling to figure out how to do all this, and I would have liked, I think, somebody to sit me down and be like, hey, man, reach out for help. Like, it's okay to ask for support and help with your family. So if you have a male partner who needs to hear this, like, let them know it's okay to not have the answers, and reaching out for support and coaching to find success is super, super important.
And that's not just about working with me. Of course, do I want to work with couples together? Yes, let's do it. But even just taking the steps to better your financial situation, whether that is doing some education by reading books, listening to an audiobook, listening to podcasts, doing a little bit of research, is going to help you. And oftentimes when one person is a little more hesitant than the other, the person who is like, yes, let's do this, I'm gung-ho ready to do this, can often feel like, okay, I'm so ready, and the other person's just lagging in the back like, come on, let's do this, I'm ready. So in order to get on the same page, introducing that person that's a little hesitant to resources, whether it's our podcast or coaching or whatever, it's going to help them take those first steps. You can't force people to be ready
For sure.
to get their financial shit together, but you can introduce things to them.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the first step. So what's this episode about today?
We wanted to talk to you guys today because the summer's coming up, and there's going to be a lot of feelings around maybe getting back into society in what maybe feels like a post-COVID world, even though cases are still around and in some places rising. But places are opening up, and this is going to be one of the first summers in a couple years where people are going to have pretty much open availability between maybe not having to be masked some places and restaurants being back open, venues being back open. And so we really wanted to speak to some of the financial mindfulness that you can take into this summer so that you can enjoy your time but also be prepared for it all.
Yeah, we have a very, very busy summer ahead. And
We
just to
do.
kind of spew some things that we have on the horizon, like Justin mentioned at the introduction, we have a 7-day trip to Cancun in June. And then in July, we're going camping for 5 days. And then in August, I'm going to Outside Lands for one of my friend's 30th birthdays for
Be
3
fun.
days. And then in September, we're going to Orlando for 6 days for a finance conference. We're going to FinCon. If you're a finance person, we'll be there. But those are all so many big things happening in a short period of time. And it seems kind of crazy because for the last few years, we haven't really done anything.
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden, it's like we have one large event per month happening, which can financially add up. But emotionally, it's like, whoa, we're really busy. So how do you handle okay, this is really an expensive summer, but I'm so excited. Like, there's so many emotions. You can be excited, but also like, whoa, how do I not overdo it? So that's kind of what we wanted to talk about today. So what's the first step that people need to do when they are diving into everything?
Well, the first of our 6 action steps is probably the most important, and that's plan ahead. Whether you are just planning a week ahead and looking at the calendar and saying, hey, I remember I'm going out bowling Friday night and I might be grabbing drinks, or hey, I know that my work has this really fun, conference this Wednesday and Thursday that's at this, banquet hall downtown. And so I might, grab coffees or maybe I'm going out to dinner with friends those evenings, whatever it may be. Whether it's a week or a month, you need to be planning ahead because the summer is a time where a lot of people just kind of pull the ripcord and have fun, which is great. But if you're planning ahead, then it really allows you to feel empowered with those financial decisions and allows you to enjoy the fun without having any of the shame or guilt come later that evening or the next morning.
I love that with feeling empowered. You can also plan backwards. You can say, okay, it is May right now, but I know that in the end of summer, maybe August, September, maybe even late July, I'm going to want to go on this trip to Pittsburgh or whatever. And I know it's going to cost $700 between the hotel, the flight, whatever, all these other things, the rental car. You can kind of just create this backwards goal of like, okay, this is what I want to save for. Maybe you even create a sinking fund for that. So you're putting a little bit aside at a time and you don't have to cash flow this massive travel expense all up front when that comes.
Yeah, and it's really even more so not even just like financially preparing for it, but emotionally, right? Like the feelings of like shame or guilt when you train wreck your budget because you didn't plan can be really damaging. And that's part of the reason that a lot of people actually steer away from budgeting is because they don't want to confront those feelings. So planning ahead is just going to make you feel like you're in control. And control is ultimately what we all want when it comes to our money.
I also feel like people think that budgeting means you can't have all these fun things. And when you plan ahead and you incorporate those fun things into your budget and you're specifically planning for these fun things that are going to be happening. I just said fun things so many times because I'm so excited for the fun. But it's true. Like if you have these things that you want to do and you have the funds to do them, or you think that you're going to be able to make the funds work, then make it happen. But if you are not planning and you just do it, that's when it's a downward spiral of like, well, why did I work so hard to all of a sudden just trash my budget in one sitting? Like it doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah, I could not have said it any better myself.
Woo! So the second thing, kind of along the lines of planning ahead, is to track your spending. And I think planning ahead and budgeting and tracking your spending are kind of all one. But creating a budget and planning ahead are completely useless if you're not tracking where your money is going. So you can create the plan, but if you don't track your actual day-to-day spending, then you don't know if you actually followed the plan. And if you have these goals of things that you want to do and save money to go do them and incorporate them into your budget, you have to check yourself. And that's how you check yourself, is by tracking your spending.
Well, tracking your spending is like the accountability portion, right?
Right.
Like anybody can make a budget and like say they're going to do something, but you're not really doing it if you're not actually tracking your expenses, good, bad, or otherwise. You might have totally blown your budget, but tracking your expenses is what's going to show you that and what's going to say, okay, maybe I need to change my budget. Maybe my summer months for dining out need to be a little bit higher, and that's okay. But if you're not tracking, you're never going to know that. You're just going to be like, oh, my budget's this much, and I spend around that. It's like, no, you don't. You've been out 3 times this week alone. Your budget's way higher than that.
Yeah.
And that's okay. But you've got to have that accountability portion, and you got to, be really checking in with yourself. And that's what tracking your expenses is going to do, not the budget.
Yeah, and if you ask anyone who is not budgeting or tracking and you just say, "Hey, how much do you spend monthly on groceries or how much do you spend on gas or dining out?" People grossly underestimate it.
Yeah.
Like almost half.
Yeah.
Almost 50% less than what they're actually spending. So, if you create this arbitrary budget, okay, that's nice and all, but like what are you really spending on? If you're spending $700 a month dining out, there's nothing wrong with that if that's how you want to live your life. However, if you have these goals that in August you want to go, I'm going to outside lands. I'm super excited. Those were $400, almost $500 tickets. Plus there's the food and all the stuff that I'm going to want to save for and probably new clothes. I got to get new shoes, all these fun things, right? Well, maybe we need to track the expenses to look at the areas that we can dial it in and say, okay, I need to take money from these areas there so I can do these things that I want to do.
Let's dive into number 3. I think this one is wildly important as we come into the summer after, these crazy few years with COVID. And that is that if you're at all able to, try and support your local economy with the things that you do this summer. There are obviously different date nights you can do if you're a couple. There's plenty of kids things you can do if you've got some kids. There's obviously plenty of solo events, but your local economy is going to be so much more supported by you than, some big billionaire would be. For example, a really cool date night might be, hey, let's go to the local bookstore and buy some books and, go take them to the park and just like read a little bit. Or let's go to the local game store and buy a fun board game for the family and, cook at home or grab pizzas out or something instead of supporting Amazon and just buying a board game on there or, books off of there. Your local economy's probably been beat up the last few years. And if you are able to incorporate them into your summer plans, not only are you going to feel a greater connection to your community, but you're also going to be stimulating your local economy. And those are the hardworking folks that our money should be going to.
I just had so much fun when we went on our date night in April when we went axe throwing locally.
It was a blast.
It was so much fun. And that's something that, it's not supporting some Topgolf massive chain, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or the movie theaters.
Mm-hmm.
It's supporting this little new business. They opened like right in the end of COVID, right? I mean, I'm hoping this is the end. God, please let this be the end. But they opened earlier this year, hoping, hey, I hope this works.
Yeah.
And it was so much fun. We'll definitely be going back. But
yeah.
Before all of this, I don't think I ever really considered the impact of like what shopping local and supporting local businesses really meant until COVID. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that as well.
But there's so many different, creators and artists and people that have just these things that they're so passionate about. And for a few extra dollars, you're getting the exact same product, but you're, pumping money into businesses that deserve it 10 times more. The payoff is so much greater. And that's something that, we obviously need to remember. We're Amazon supporters because it's convenient and we get that. And it's maybe one of our flaws, sure. But being mindful of that and trying to support local when you can is great. For example, I have a thrift books wish list instead of an Amazon wish list for my classroom because I'd rather support, this indie bookstore group than Amazon. It's moments like that are so important, and this summer it's going to be, so much more valuable for your local economy.
People, if they made it through and they didn't close shop, have struggled, and they need a really good summer 22.
They absolutely do.
they need it. They need it.
Yes.
So number 4 is alcohol, and along with the sun and the beaches and boats and parties and all of that jazz, typically comes some summer booze. And whether you're dining out and you're getting a margarita at the Mexican place, or you're getting a bottle of wine somewhere, it's expensive. It is so, so expensive. You were saying before we hopped on this call that alcohol is I don't even know what you said. What'd you say?
It has the highest profit margin in restaurants.
There we go.
Yeah. That's where they make their money.
Yeah. I mean, it cost them nothing for the minor bit of liquor that's in the drink that you pay $10 for. Mm-hmm. So if you could just be mindful of that when you're going out, that's going to save money that you could put elsewhere. And I am not saying don't get alcohol when you're out. But, I mean, let's just take it back to college. Like, why don't you drink a little bit at home before you go out? Or why don't you bring something with you? Like, a lot of restaurants will let you bring your own wine bottle.
Yeah.
And they have a small corkage fee, or they don't have one at all.
Yeah. And, the other side of that is, if you want to go and drink a bunch and you have a safe plan for getting home, do that. That's back to step one. Like, plan ahead and know this is something I want to do. But you don't want to show up and be like, oh, tonight's the night. Let's get some shots. And out of nowhere, you have a $100 bar tab that you're like sloshed trying to climb into the back of an Uber and figure out how you're going to pay, right? Like, this is just not a great look. So be mindful of the alcohol consumption cost. You can obviously be mindful of the consumption too, because we care about you, but just be mindful of the cost.
Yeah, and if you're planning ahead, the alcohol definitely goes hand in hand for, like, if you're thinking of going out to eat. I mean, your food will be a little bit, but if you are with a few people and you each get a couple drinks or a few drinks, that adds up very, very quickly, and then all of a sudden your minor, I have $50 for this dinner, turns into a whole lot more than that.
Yeah, my school had a staff appreciation dinner the other night that a bunch of parents, donated to a GoFundMe and served this beautiful buffet and drinks at this wonderful restaurant downtown. And we got an email over the weekend from my principal. It said, hey, clearly everyone on site knows how to have fun because we went over our bar tab $800 and this parent that was there picked it up. So if you had drinks that evening, could you please come and donate, $10 to $20 to this fund? And it's really funny because I only had 2 beers while I was there, but I'm sure, just like looking at some of my colleagues, I'm like, oh, wow, okay. Like you've had a few cocktails. Like, let's talk teaching.
Let's talk teaching.
Yeah. If teachers can overspend, just about anybody can overspend in the alcohol space. So.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, you say that like teachers. If teachers can drink, anyone can drink. If teachers can drink.
Teachers are the most wild. All the teachers listening to this are like, yes, we can drink. We need to after this year. Okay, so step number 5, you guys, is one that we're going to give a little caveat to. We are still technically in the pandemic. So be mindful of this next one and when possible get, COVID testing prior to spending time with others. But if you're able to include others in the events you do this summer or the things that you and your family choose to do, that might save you a little bit of money. You can get group discounted rates. Things can be cheaper, obviously, when split among more people. Mm-hmm. So if you're able to include some others, maybe that can be an option for y'all. Sharing the cost of a large pizza between 2 families is obviously going to be cheaper than between 1. Or, getting a group to go do something might get you a smaller discount, or maybe it stimulates the local economy even more. There's so many different valuable things that come with including others in the group, and that can bring a lot of joy this summer and also maybe lighten your wallet, or I shouldn't say lighten your wallet, but maybe keep your wallet heavy by lightening the effects on your wallet
there you go.
with the way that you have to spend.
This got me thinking of, like, lodging, hotels and Airbnbs.
Yeah, there it is.
They can be a lot of money, especially during the summer. They hike their rates just because they can. And if you are able to get an Airbnb or a hotel with another family, that can save you so much money. I mean, I know a lot of people that are going to FinCon in Orlando are getting, double rooms and putting a couple people in there just to save some money because it wasn't a cheap hotel.
No. And you're right. Maybe a hotel isn't it, but an Airbnb, a larger home with a couple different families splitting, that could totally work out fine.
Yeah, definitely.
I could see that. That's a good idea.
Go team. Okay, so the last one is mine, and I'm so excited because I made this up. If you are older than a millennial, You might not know this term. Number 6 is YOLO, which is YOLO, stands for you only live once. And I want to say that YOLOing during summer of 2022, what I mean by this is we have been in a pandemic for over 2 years. Summer of 2020 and 2021 were trash because of the pandemic. And if you feel like, oh, great, this is finally over, I get to enjoy life, I get to see friends, I get to do things, finally, that's okay.
Yep.
It's okay to enjoy life. It's okay to budget in things. It's okay to plan ahead and do these things. So this is just kind of wrapping everything up with a bow. It's okay. Give yourself permission to spend the money on the things that are going to fill your cup this summer and make you feel like, finally, whatever that is for you.
Yeah, and we're not going to do any of this like shame and guilt stuff because of it. Like obviously we don't want that for our listeners. There's tons of, finance content creators out there saying like, "Hey, you shouldn't be shaming yourself for your Starbucks or the things that you want to do that bring you joy." I think of Lexa from Avocado Toast Budget. She does a tremendous job of reminding people like, "Hey, this brings you happiness. It's okay to do these things." For example, Lexa spends a lot of money on books. She's a book human. But like that brings her joy, and that's awesome. And that should be where you spend your money, things that bring you joy and bring you happiness. And so if the next 3 months for you are a little wonky, that's okay. You can always get back on track. The next 3 months aren't the end of your life, and you can always turn it around.
And if you just kind of go back to number 1 and 2, if you're planning ahead and you're budgeting and you're tracking your expenses, then you'll be able to YOLO and feel good about it. You won't feel bad about spending money on things that make you happy. That's the whole point. That's why I want everyone to budget, so they can give themselves permission to do the things that make them happy.
Yeah. Can I ask you, honey, what is your YOLO for this summer? What's the one thing that you're like, YOLO, summer 2022?
I'm getting my eyelashes done again. I scheduled the appointment already.
I didn't think that's what you were going to say. What I thought you were going to say was that while we're in Cancun, you're getting 2 massages.
That too.
In a week span, Haley's going to go to the nicest spa we've ever been to twice.
Oh, best massage ever. So what about you? What's something you think that you are like, yes, that's where I'm going to put my money this summer and enjoy?
That's a great question. And it's something that I've actually been thinking about a lot recently, and that's why I asked this question. This is really stupid, but to me, it's kind of important.
Therefore, it's not stupid.
Okay, sure. I want to find the best breakfast burrito in Nevada County. So I'm going to go probably like once a week and try a breakfast burrito at different places.
Oh, I love that.
I've been craving breakfast burritos. This morning, when you were like heating up your breakfast, I was like, I don't know if you heard me, but I was like, I wish I made breakfast burritos instead. When I was walking in the garage, I was like, I just wish I made breakfast burritos. I really want a good breakfast burrito.
And we haven't, we've been here for a year. We've lived here a year, but we haven't really explored many places for dining out because it just is hard. And you have 2 kids that you have to either bring along.
Yeah. And
right now, our oldest, Calliope, is in a really not fun place in life where she just thinks, she likes to say that everything's yucky, and so she'll take a bite of something and be like, yucky, and then spit it out, even though it's like her favorite thing ever. It's just a scene. And then when she's done, she'll throw her food on the ground. We're trying to just ignore it, but I am not about to bring that out to a restaurant.
But that's okay because breakfast burritos are travelable.
Yes.
Travelable? What's the word I'm thinking of?
I don't know.
Transportable? Portable? Yeah, I guess portable. Portable? Breakfast burritos are certainly portable. All right, this podcast is going off the rails. YOLO and your breakfast burritos. Anyways, you guys, those are our 6 tips to enjoy your summer mindfully with your money. You deserve it. It's been a difficult few years, and we're looking forward to this summer. We want you to look forward to this summer, and we want you to listen to this episode once, maybe even twice, so that you feel absolutely prepared for it.
Yeah, and go look at your calendars. I know some people can't look further than like a week or so, but try to look a month in advance or at September. I say that as an Enneagram 3. I'm like, my whole life is planned out. But try to look and see, like, what are some things that I want to do? And start talking to your friends and making those plans now in May so that you can feel so good and empowered with your financial decisions when you get to go enjoy life this summer.
Absolutely. Summertime and the living's easy.
I don't even know that song.
Me neither. All right, Toasties, that's going to do it for this episode of Price of Avocado Toast. As always, we are so thankful to have had this conversation with you and so grateful to be part of this community. Happy budgeting.
You've got this, Toasties.
Thanks for listening to the Price of Avocado Toast. If you vibed with this episode, share it with a friend that you're comfortable having money talks with. And if you don't mind, we'd love if you could rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
If you're in need of my support as a financial coach, message me on Instagram. I'd love to help in any way that I can. Until next time.